Hi, and welcome to the Roundtable Podcast. I'm your host, Merlin, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit special. We're going to be doing a podcast on what it means to be family. So today we're going to be having I guess, an open format. We can do a roundtable. I will just keep it open for now. Let's see. Uh, so basically, um, I what does it mean to be family? What does it mean to be there for somebody when they're down? And what does it mean to you? I would like to, before I start rambling off, I would like to say, please join us at the Roundtable Discord. You can find us by Googling Roundtable Discord. You can also check out our YouTube stream. The link for the invite for our server is on our YouTube page. You can check out also our Instagram, and I believe we have a Facebook page, but we'll be checking up on those in a little bit because now we're just going to get on with the podcast. So I would like to open it up to anybody who would like to share, their opinion.
Well, I would like to have a word in, if that's okay, Melon.
Oh yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I would like to define what family is. Is it blood or is it out of choice? Um, I would say it's both. I would say it's obviously blood because you have a family that you're related to, whether siblings, parents, children, etc., or out of choice. And is choice, do you consider friends to be family? Well, certain friends, certainly. And that's because they're there for you and probably would be there for you more so than blood related family. Does anyone agree, disagree?
Sadly, I'm in the position where all of my blood-related family, for the most part, have fallen away or are in very distant other countries. Don't have a lot of contact, so I've gotten an awful lot out of my relations here. Gotten to know people. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I wanted to. The round table, we have a family vibe, and a lot of my friends did come from the round table. So yeah, I would consider them family. That's because they're loyal and they're good, lasting friends. Friendship is the key.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like that was the whole reason what's kept me around the server to begin with was the family vibe. And, it's a lot harder than you would expect to maintain the family vibe, right? That's like our number two rule, maintain the family vibe. But how do you maintain a family vibe, right? When you've got, conflicting personalities and you've got feelings the other way or, like little cliques and stuff like that inside the family, like maybe, it doesn't matter if it's a YouTube server or I'm on a YouTube server, but a Discord server or even your own family. Like I have three brothers and, mom, dad. So, I naturally get along with one of my brothers more so than the others, and then so it's like me and Chris, and then my brother Adam and David. They're the kind of pair, and me and Chris are the pair. That's my brother that I live with, and so it's not like I don't like my other brother David. And actually, I think like I think we're a lot alike. And when it comes to like blood and family, I think that's what really keeps it going around. Like, because it's just people you've grown up and you've gotten used to, and you cut people end up liking, the people that tend to be like them or like their personality. And more than most time, families kind of stick around, that kind of same theme. But family goes so much farther than just blood, right? Because you may not have good relations or you might lose them. But like for me, when I was in the Marine Corps, family took on a whole new, different meaning to me. Right? I was like 19 with like when I joined. I wanted nothing more than to get away from the family. Like it was really instilled in me that I had to get out and make something of myself. You're 18, you're out the door. Well, I made it to 19, but uh, you know, I didn't have a good relationship with my family. In fact, I barely even talked to my brother Adam. Like I probably said maybe, I don't know, an entire paragraph to him in like 10 years. I just really didn't talk to him. I just was done with family, right? And going through that, boot camp and stuff like that. Not only do you end like I ended up missing my family, right? I ended up reconnecting with my dad. Me and my dad didn't really have a good relationship growing up. But now we actually do have a good relationship because we got to like take the distance and write and start to and appreciate our relationship. But my family extended from that point. The Marine Corps became my family. The people that you do things with on a daily basis, that you're stuck in the ground. It doesn't matter if you're in a foxhole or you're in a cubicle, right? I mean, your family is who you go through the suck with, who's there with you when when it really gets bad. And that sounds like a cliche, but it's a lot more rarer than you think, right? I mean, I'm only 33 years old, but I've been around the block a few times and know that there's some fake motherfuckers out there. There are people that say that you're a friend and then they just don't care about you. They like right when you need them the most. You're like, wow, this is exactly not the type of behavior that I expected of them. So, as I went through the Marine Corps, my idea of what family means really started to take on a whole new meaning, and and it became more of like a loyalty kind of thing. But you know, it went on like so. Uh, that notion of what family was, it lasted all throughout my military career. But um, when I got out, right, like this is a big problem that a lot of vets have too, right? When you get out, you lose your family, you lose your connection with your brothers and sisters. And you're not around like-minded people anymore. You come back to the civilian world and you're like, what the heck's going on here? This is what I fought for? Like all this crap that's going on. Even now, like that was like 4 years ago I was talking about, but now I'd be like, oh my gosh. But you know, I lost the family, and so uh, that's why especially with all this COVID stuff going on and the quarantine and people getting stuck inside and stuff like that, it became more prevalent than ever. Not only in my life, but in a lot of people's lives, to be able to connect and to talk to each other. And this is what this server was about. I mean, I wasn't like, I was a self-proclaimed agoraphobic. I couldn't go outside. Just going to the gas station actually gave me huge anxiety attacks. Like, oh man. Anyways, but I've gotten a lot better. And but then like I started coming out of my shell, and then this whole COVID thing happened, and this could have been a huge turnaround for me. I could have gone way down south, like I did before, but I found a family, and I found people I can talk to and connect to, and it was very important to me. And so I found that here at the Roundtable Discord server. You can find us by Googling Roundtable Discord server. Sorry, guys, I like to throw that in there whenever I can. But I don't know if that really sums up what family means, because it's really hard for me to say what is family, right? Like you can come up with all the cliches, they're there when you're down, or they never give up on you or something. But it's more of like a vibe. It's something that you get and you intuitively know right when you get it. Like when you have the vibe. That's why it's taken me like 10 to 20 minutes to explain what it is. And that's the beauty and the magic of what a family vibe is. Like you intrinsically understand like this dense amount of knowledge, and it just feels real and it feels
Hey,
authentic. But yeah,
hey
please.
Merlin, part of family is that you keep coming back even when people annoy the shit out of you.
That's
So
important too. That is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Like the
family,
prodigal son. Sorry, Karen.
so I think family is all about like familiarity and respect, right? And I think you can why it's so present on the round table, right? It's because like at least for the people that I've talked to, like I'm able to be friends with even people who are like borderline Nazis, like people who are very far left, while I myself am like a socialist. And I think it's just that respect that you have for each other, and that like just it's able to help you develop relationships with these people for sure.
And also, I believe that family is about trust.
Trust is very important when it comes to family.
Mhm.
And that's a lot. That's this that's a huge, like being able to trust people. Uh, and like we had an issue with trust here in the server. I'm not gonna lie. Honesty is the new policy, and that was the remedy. Honesty, right? Like family, like people who don't care about you, they lie to your face, and they lie to your face in the most nicest ways. Oh, you look great today. Oh yeah. Oh, hey man, wow, never seen you look any bit handsomer than today. And while you're walking around with a huge turd on your nose or something, you don't know. Like people are just too. Most people are just too polite, and they just they don't want to. Basically, you just don't mean anything to them, right? Because they don't want to go out of their way uh, in order to uh, in order to help you. And so being able to be honest, right? Like, and I guess that's where friends you get, they rag on each other, like, you bitch, get over here, like, whatever guys and girls say to each other in endearing ways, because that's what like the whole essence of what it means to be family, being able to be honest with each other, being able to trust one another, not only what you say, but like in what you do. And trust isn't just on being honest, it's about being reliable too, right? Like uh if you're going to be that dad that doesn't pick up your kid at the soccer practice or whatever, you're not going to have much trust with your son, uh kind of thing.
Well,
So go ahead.
Merlin, you gave an example. I mean, I guess it was kind of a simple, silly example of giving a compliment when what someone really needed was a little bit of fair criticism. But I guess part of another thing that uh, makes family is that you're not just having a surface level thing, with friends or acquaintances. You have a responsibility to be there to help people with their personal development when they need it. Like families are systems that help generate people, into becoming adults, into becoming their true selves. So
I agree.
it's not just friendliness. It's also being there and calling people on their bullshit when they need it, and being supportive when they need
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. And they're not the crab in a bucket situation. They don't grab you, pull you down for them to get above, but they lift. And also, like you said, with they call you bullshit. Family's not just about always having positive comments from them, but they are there to tell you what's right and what's true, and tell you how it is, but with respect and constructive criticism as well. So it's not just all fairy, love and dovey family life, but they'll pull you aside to have a conversation with you and say, "Hey, you're doing this wrong. Put your act together, or I'm going to slap you on the back of the head." You know what I mean? It's total respect.
Yeah, I wish honestly, that's like one of my criticisms of my parents, like they never really, it goes both ways actually with them. They never really like to correct me when I do things bad, but they also don't praise me when I do things good. Like I told them yesterday, hey, mom, dad, I got my associate's degree. And like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, I'm like, well, shit, I've been going to college for 10 years. It's kind of a big deal to me, but I mean, you know, and they've always been that way, and I love them for it, But because it gave me the leniency to go whichever way. But it's sometimes it's even though it might feel wrong to give someone that smack on the back of the head, because no one wants to hurt their loved ones. But you need to do it out of just for their own good, and it's
Yes.
so
I mean,
it's go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know I'm talking a lot, but personally, it feels really terrible when nobody has any real expectations of you, and because then it's very easy to break promises to yourself. It's a lot harder to break promises to other people, break commitments to other
Totally
people. So if no one has any expectations of you, you can very easily become lost in the world.
complacent and being
So
saying no. Yeah, I agree.
so I value the responsibility as much as the company. Like being needed, being able to be there for other people. I get a pretty big charge out of that.
Responsibility is actually a pretty good word to go along with family. There's a lot of good words that go along with family that I want to get to, but responsibility, because when you have a family, you have a responsibility to that family. That's part of loyalty. Is almost a part of responsibility. But and I know, and it is a burden. Like it's not all sunshine and roses. Uh, family. There's a lot of not so fun parts to it. For most, it's Thanksgiving dinner, or, but obviously that's a superficial example. But what do you guys think about responsibility's role within family?
Well, if we didn't have family and we had no responsibility for ourselves or for other people, as I think Styles said, we'd become complacent and we'd like slumber with life. But responsibility, even like, as a parent, you've got to step up to the mark and be that parent and be that person that you're responsible for the child or for any, even for yourself. But sometimes if you're doing it just for yourself, you don't get that extra nudge that you would if you've been responsible for other people as well.
I mean, there's been a few. I'm not sure how much I want to talk about it, but I've dealt with self isolating a lot too, and lately, there's been a few stressful days here where my shoulders have been tense after like a stressful conversation, but at the end of the day, it felt like a more meaningful day than some of the meaningless days I've had a few months ago. So
That is something, yeah. And I definitely got. Oh man, I can just feel my shoulder right now tightening up thinking about it. But yeah, we have a responsibility to the people that we love. And does anyone else have any like to chime in about responsibility, or even maybe about loyalty? What does it mean to be loyal? I guess if I were to say what it means, loyalty, I don't know. To me, like it's another thing that's like intrinsic. I guess loyalty stems from not from how much something means to you. Uh, you know, and like family. I never thought family meant that much to me, right? Most of my life, I'm an introvert, right? Uh, I'm an extrovert. It's very weird. I could be very social and outgoing, but I would much prefer to be alone. And I thought I could be alone. And I wanted to be alone. I've dreamed about being alone. I was like, I'm gonna get a cabin out in the woods by myself, just me
Hmm.
and my dog. I don't need anybody. Like oh, and like how they talk about astronauts going off into space. And worrying about them going crazy because they're not around people, or people who have cabin fever, or even having cabin fever during this whole pandemic, um, which is real, and I've felt the effects of it. And being like a stubborn-headed introvert, I'm thinking you don't need anybody. But the truth is, actually, I've spent very little time in my life by myself, like truly. There was actually one period in my life that it was right after I got out of the military, and I went to go to school in Oklahoma, and I just washed out. Like it wasn't good for me. I had to come back home. I went home, lived with the parents, and like it's just I've looking back in my life, I've always had somebody in my room, or been like in the military, or like married, or now roommates. And as much as how annoying it is, like my roommates, they don't. That's my brother and like a childhood friend that grew up in the neighborhood. So like they don't, they have a certain way of living that's not to my standard. Yeah, and so I end up doing a lot of dishes and stuff. And it's and I do these dishes out of love and hate at the same time. They don't know it, but I'm actually insulting them every time I do their dishes. I'm basically saying you can't do your dishes, so I have to do them. But I don't know. That's just a little thing. But like I just, I guess I became more aware of how much really human relationships, like being, human connecting. Even though we're not like, it's one thing to talk over like over Discord. It's a different feeling, than it is like in person and stuff like that. But human beings are social creatures. It's very important to us. It's very important to our mental health. And is as even as clever as as much as I think I am, and like I think that whatever decisions that I make are logical. Like you run them around in your head. You think you don't need anybody else. It's been very often that I've found, I those same ideas that I would run through my head. I would come here to round table and I would say it, and then within one sentence, I would have a completely different view from somebody else, and I go, "Wow, I didn't even think of it that way." So it's not only just uh, a necessity of having to be around people, but it's also it's beneficial in ways that if you were to go alone at it, you know, I just don't think it would be very very successful. Um, I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Not so much on what you were saying, but more on the fact of loyalty. I
Yes.
wanted to say that just like respect, loyalty needs to be earned. So just because I'm part of a server doesn't mean I'm going to be loyal or I expect loyalty from members. But with friendships, you can be friends with everyone, but loyalty comes with time and it comes with trust. So trust, responsibility, respect, and loyalty to me are put in the same basket.
I mean, I guess that part of the undercurrent of this conversation, is, I mean, don't need to talk about the drama specifically, but I think one of the indications that we have something good going on here is just how powerfully people feel when things go wrong, right? And it, I'm part of a number of other servers that are not important to me, and it feels crappy to be banned if you get banned or whatever, but like it doesn't affect me like the way it would when things happen here.
I would have to agree. It's for like a lot of my whole social life pretty much has been this whole Discord since of all this COVID thing, and it's going to continue to be so. Even next semester, it's going to be online, and I do expect that we're going to have a second wave here. Whether it's going, be, part of the pandemic and part of the whole grand plan to take over the one world order, or if it's just because of all these protests and people walking around, and even though they're wearing masks, we were discussing this earlier, about the effectiveness of masks and stuff, which is that's another conversation for another day. But it might spread again because of all this, and we might end up again in a way more in a worse quarantine. Where it's going to be very important, not only the people that we be quarantined with, which is most of the time, probably 90% of the time, your family or your roommates or whoever you consider to be your family. People usually don't live, they would rather live by themselves as the enemy, I would hope. But I guess there are some bad roommates and bad family members. But what I'm trying to say is, um, you know, like I guess it's important to reflect on the importance of what family just means to you personally, not what it means in general to, a bunch of strangers, but what it means to you personally. And, and to have that resource when times, are going to be bad. Because personally, I do believe that times are going to get worse, and even at my own detriment, or I have to plan for that, and for me, I had to buy $700 worth of MREs, to make sure that we could have food, but that's just my own personal prepping. Um, but yeah, it's just it's important to consider what family means, and to have that family, especially when times are going to be rough.
But going back to that concept of loyalty, I think another part of loyalty is you're loyal to the person rather than their actions, right? So if you see like someone doing something really bad, like taking too many drugs or something, like if you're loyal to them, you're gonna call them out in that behavior because you want the best for them. And I think that ties into like that family vibe and that love vibe, right? Because if we see like a hurtful action that they're doing that's hurting themselves, you're gonna call it out really quickly. You know what I mean? I think that just ties back into everything.
Yeah, and on that point, if I could just encourage everybody, like we come here and we gather in order to have debates and conversation and interesting things, but uh, and we see each other. We're these screen names and these images. Important to remember that we're all flawed human beings, right? And so if someone is is getting on your nerves or something, you can definitely argue with them. There's also the option of like hitting them up in DM and asking them if they're okay. And part of a family or organization like this is that there's going to be like different spider webs of connection. Everybody's going to have the people that they get along best with that are sort of like their family within the family. And if those networks are well developed and interconnected enough, then you really start getting like an ecosystem of people caring for one another.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Loyalty is yeah, to me, loyalty is something that's like again, it's hard to describe. To me, it just comes naturally. But I guess it's just like how Ainsov said. It's respect and time, and it goes both ways. Uh, I feel like I might be hogging the mic so much. Is there anybody else who hasn't spoke yet that would like to just tell us what it means for them to be loyal for family, or maybe have like a personal story or something that they would like to share?
Hey,
I
I
definitely
would
have a
like to
personal story.
introduce myself. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, go
Oh,
for
Sorry.
it. No,
hi.
go for
Hi,
it. Go for
guys.
it. Introduce yourself.
So it's my first time in here in the Discord. I've been in the Discord for like 2 weeks now, I believe. I've really enjoyed it a lot. I'm 25 years old. I'm from the Netherlands. What I would like to say, I just wanted to, because I wanted to say something when Dex said something. Dex said something about loyalty. I joined the conversation late, so I don't know what has been said yet. But he said like, I believe he said you're loyal to the person. But if you have to describe loyalty, what is loyalty exactly, and what makes you loyal to someone? Is my question. If it's clear, I don't know. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's clear. What is loyalty? What does it mean to you? Yeah, it's I think Ainsof he hit it a little bit on the head. Do you want to take it over from like I think you said it better than I did.
Yeah, with loyalty, comes with respect. You got to earn it. But at the same time, like when Dex said, you're loyal to a person, not their action. Does that mean that you're gonna stand by your friend even if he's or the person you're loyal to, even if they make mistakes and there's someone else involved and they're doing the right thing? Who are you gonna stand by? The person you're loyal to, or the situation? That's really a nail biter of a situation, isn't it? Like your loyal friend would expect you to stand by him, but what if you know that they're doing wrong?
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't
exact.
embarrass them. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I wouldn't embarrass them and call it out in public. I'd pull them aside and say, hey, I don't think what you're doing is the right thing to do or saying the right things. So just, you know, um, open your mind up to other perspectives and see the situation from a different point of view. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to call them out. So even though you're loyal to the person, I wouldn't just blindsided just agree with them just because you're loyal to them.
Yeah, so that's why I asked, what is loyalty to you? It's like, what do you base it on? If you're loyal to someone, you base it on the kind of relationship you have with someone and with their perhaps ideology or ideas or beliefs or whatever, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what if you have loyalty to someone, for example, for ideology, and he completely changes his ideology? Where does loyalty lie then? Are you still loyal to that person? Obviously, you probably still respect his choice because there's a free choice for everyone. Otherwise, it's unfair. You can't expect
Well,
them not to
uh,
have a choice.
Well, loyalty is kind of a mixed word, right? It's got different connotations. Usually we talk about it in the good sense, but there's also pathological loyalty. You can have loyalty to a criminal gang. You can have misplaced loyalty towards an abusive family. You can have
Yeah.
loyalty that causes you to tolerate things that you shouldn't tolerate because you're close to someone. So loyalty, it's like a rubber band, right? It ties you to somebody, but
Yeah.
it can be stretched beyond its breaking point, and then it has to break. So loyalty is it's having appropriate close relationship with somebody. It's holding them responsible. It's also holding yourself responsible to them. Um,
So loyalty is very subjective, or I don't know, my English lacks a little bit, but what I'm trying to say, loyalty is different for everyone, right? So what do you understand under loyalty? A lot of us understand that there are powers in the world that are like basically trying to take over the world for a one world order. And they have loyalty to each other, but that kind of loyalty is very different. If you look at the understanding of those extremely wealthy, extremely successful, extremely intellectual, influential, etc. If you look at their beliefs and their ethics, it's totally different. So that's like one of the
Yes.
things in business. Also, you can't expect the person that you're talking with or that you're thinking what they are thinking. You can't expect that they are thinking the same way you're thinking, if that's clear.
Yes.
So yeah, it's totally like I said, loyalty is like a rubber band. You can change it, do whatever with it what you want. So it depends on
How
what context you're talking about loyalty.
how about
And I'll
fealty?
stop talking now because I've been hugging the mic. I just wanted to get my point out there and hear what people have to say about it.
How about fealty? You know what fealty is? I don't know if that's a synonym. Is it a synonym? Forget. But
your
it's
your
like
mic's
loyalty.
pretty bad, man. But I heard you say fealty. Fealty is what you owe
Fealty.
to a lord, right? So loyalty is normally. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but it's normally on an even footing. And fealty is something you have
And
towards
again,
your
you feel like
superior.
you owe, don't you? You feel like you owe something to someone to make that bond binding. I don't know.
I mean, that
What's
could
your
be
thought?
seen as sacrifice also. Sacrifice to get a bond with someone or thing. To create loyalty also, or to show off loyalty.
I mean, Frank, I don't want to come down on you, but I think fealty is kind of it's like a hijacking of loyalty. So someone in power says, you should feel the same bond of loyalty towards me that you do towards your family, and then we're going to call that fealty, and that's also a virtue. I don't think it necessarily is a virtue, but loyalty is.
Hmm. Gotta search that definition up again, unless if it's just synonyms or we're just discussing semantics.
It's not a synonym though.
No.
So
So
I can't remember.
what's the different types of ones that are kind of like loyalty? There's fealty. There's oh, I don't know what the other ones are. I would say responsibility, but that just seems too obvious.
Well, let's hit the thesaurus. Let's see. Adherence, allegiance. I like allegiance. Devotion, fidelity. Fidelity is a good one. That involves honest dealings, integrity.
Oh, one time I heard this from outside. It's actually a true story. I was just walking outside on the streets, and then this woman kept on saying to the young grandson, like, this is one key word that you should know about family, solidarity, or something like that. Kept on saying it. What's your views on that?
I'm sorry.
How long?
Can you repeat what she
You,
said?
Solidarity.
your mic's a mess, Vinny.
Yeah,
There's like some crashing sounds.
solidarity.
Yeah, solidarity. Generally, that refers to like like feelings and empathy and sympathy, right? So if someone's going through something, you use your solidarity to stand by them.
Mm.
Uh, can you close your mic when you're
So,
not talking, man? It's real bad.
oh, sorry. Forgot I have a really bad mic.
Yeah. So, there was one word that you said there, um, fidelity, right? And it
Yeah.
kind of sounds like a bank commercial, fidelity. But it's faithfulness to a person, cause, or belief, demonstrated by continuing loyalty and support, right? And we're going back to this whole fidelity is just another subset of loyalty, but it's got a different aspect to it, right? It's got this faithfulness tone to it, and faith is I think that's actually a pretty important component to family as well, right? That's a whole part of the trust, right? I have faith that no matter what I do, my mom will love me. For the most part, right? I mean, like, I'm not like a murderer or anything, for what you guys know. I'm just playing. Oh, great. Probably should edit that out. But um, anyways, but having faith in your family. Um, is it's important, um, that comes from continued loyalty, and support, and that's probably one of the hardest parts, especially for me when it comes to family, is putting in that actual effort, in today's day and age. It's a very individualistic uh, type of society, at least Western culture is, and it's you don't feel like at least I do, that you don't need anybody, you can do it yourself. And or like when these like when these moments, when these family moments arise, right? Like having to pick up your brother drunk at the bar, or at a friend's house, get those unexpected times, that's like I that's those are the hard parts. Those are the hard, because it's very easy just to ignore a phone call. And one time I actually did ignore a phone call from my brother. It was like about three. It was like 3 in the morning. I had been drinking. We were at the same bar that night. We just went separate ways. I went back to home, and he went back to his old apartment. And it's not like I didn't ignore it, like, oh god, like I just thought he was butt dialing me, and I went to bed. But it turns out that that night he had blown a tire right when he got off the freeway, and it was raining, and so he had slid and hit his tire against the curb or whatever, when he making a left hand turn or something. I'm not sure what the whole situation was, but basically his car was inoperable and stuck pretty much in the middle of the road. He was fine for the most part, but like I said, we had came from the bar. He had been drinking, and he wasn't. I mean, if he would have he had been drinking enough so that 3 hours later, when he got tested for alcohol in his system, he got a DUI. And he wasn't in his car or anything like that. And I don't know if I don't know if he's gone to court about it or yet, because he's got a pretty good argument, because what he did basically was try to get his car moved. No one was there. It's in the middle, like it's a very quiet area, so not much traffic goes through there. And he went to the store to get cigarettes and came back, and then the police were there. But I didn't pick up the phone call. And if I would have picked up the phone call, it would have been a completely different story. I would have, I mean, I don't know what I would have done. I was also drinking myself that night. I had taken an Uber home, I think, or my friend John took me home. I'm not sure. But I missed that opportunity, and I think about it quite often, because it was a huge part of his life. It still is. He's got to go through, Alcoholics Anonymous. He's got court cases. His second DUI, and I felt like I failed him. I didn't, and like and we're fine, like there's nothing wrong. Like we're still super loyal and stuff like this. And like, but like, I don't know. We have kind of a weird relationship. Not, we don't really, we talk, we actually, we usually grunt to each other more than anything. It's kind of weird, but it's like an inside joke. But I remember last year at Vegas, he had done, he had done something for me that I didn't, it was just very uncharacteristic of him. And I went to Vegas and I had taken a shit ton of ecstasy, more so than I should have. And I was supposed to take half a pill, but you give someone a pill, you expect, oh, it's just one pill. And I popped in it like, no, dude, that was for two people. But anyways, so I started tripping balls, and I was at this. Oh man, it was a really cool club. It was a nightclub, but it was a pool party kind of nightclub. So everyone's in bikinis, everyone's hanging out in pools and stuff like that. And I'm rolling like a motherfucker, and I'm rolling too hard. I actually went to the bathroom. I had to throw up. Things felt really weird. I didn't know what was going on that much, and I could have, me, on drugs, I would have just wandered off somewhere. But my brother, he stuck with me. He put his arm around me, and we walked all around the casino and stuff. We went to a bar. He got some water, and we had a very nice conversation. And then there was there's these two hookers that they were taunting us for some reason. I remember that, and I got really upset at them because they made fun of my brother, because he wears a baseball cap. He's got a bald spot. He goes, we don't. He's like, why are you wearing a hat? Like, bitch, get off his dick. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, so just uh, I just
Prostitutes don't like hats, apparently. I didn't know that.
I guess not. And it was it was actually, what really pissed me off was when we went to tip, right? So like this is Vegas, and so but we still tip 10, 15%, 20%, whatever. So he's like doing the math, like a dollar or something for the tip for like the soda we got. And he's like, oh honey, that's not a tip. And then she opens her purse up, and there's just like this fucking fat stack of 20s. And she just pulls out a 20, here you go, and tips them for us. That's what pissed me off. That was what, like it wasn't just the hair thing, but it was because that's kind of a little like a touchy subject for me because I usually shave my head and stuff like that. Anywho, uh, but yeah, so I just didn't expect that kind of behavior out of him, and it was very nice to have someone there when I needed him, and it felt even more shittier that when he needed me, I wasn't there for him. So I don't know what that's got to do with faithfulness or loyalty or fidelity or anything, but I guess that would, for me, those are the most two prevalent um, stories that I go back to when I think of what it means to have loyalty or what it means to have family. So I guess that's what that's where it ties into. So yeah.
Well, this is slightly off topic, but I was thinking, as in the last couple of years, I've traveled internationally a couple times. I've moved a couple times. I've lost contact with a lot of people. I'm not in the same city as I was before. So the majority of my friendships are online now, and I was pretty ashamed about that before. We're the first generation that really has access to this kind of technology. Probably in the next over the next 100 years or so, this is going to be very much the norm. People are not going to have uh, their relationships are not going to be defined by their geography. But Shogun helped me feel a lot better about it. He had this whole spiel where you're saying, if you're talking with somebody in a room, unless you're lovers, you're very unlikely to be touching each other. So you're having a conversation, and we can video chat now, so you can actually see people. So what exactly is the difference? Well, the difference for me is that I'm in a room with people that are curated by common interests and by intelligence and all these good things. So I'm able to find more interesting people, in the last 2 months than I've met in the last 5 years. So I'm extremely grateful.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I never even thought of it that way. Like you aren't touching anybody, Like I mean, I guess you can slap them on the back or whatever, give them a good old boy or something. But yeah, there is no point. I mean, and it's true. Like if like it's actually really fun putting on, the video chat. And I never thought I would even do that. Like I came from a different Discord server that like doxing was like the number one law, like no docs, no one knows anything about you, everything's a secret or whatever. And I can understand that to a certain degree, depending on the type of content that you're looking at on Discord. Um, but and I still respect people that don't go on. I totally understand who don't, but I've just personally have found a lot of tremendous. I don't know. It's been very helpful, very therapeutic. Not only be able to see other people, but having other people being able to see me. And it's not like I'm not much to look at. Trust me. But I do have a puppy every now and then that I get to put on camera. But it's easy to feel invisible. And that was a quality that I wanted in life. I don't want people to pay attention to me. I just want to coast on by, general population. That's what, the term they use in the military. But, um, but when you do start to get recognized, when you do have people, I don't know, be able to respond to you, it feels good. And, having a family that you can share that with, just means even more. So, yeah, I totally. You kind of blew my mind with that, Snarl. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, thanks, man. It was Shogun's idea, really.
Yeah, and actually, it's a pretty good segue. We can, because the main reason why I wanted to bring this topic up today was, to talk about Shogun a little bit. And we're not gonna focus too much on here, but I thought, maybe the last part of the podcast we can just, uh, have a little message out to our buddy right now, because we are a family, and right now one of our family members isn't with us, and he's doing his thing, he's good. We know he's good. But Shogun, if you're listening to this, buddy, you probably should check the night chat. You got a lot of different messages. You probably got a lot of messages from a lot of people. But your presence is missed, brother. We're carrying on. Don't worry, we're carrying on in your spirit. That's why we started this podcast, today, and we're going to continue doing more. We're going to bring more people to our family. And when you get back, there's going to be 100 people in every VC. And and I've got some lofty goals, but I just want you to know, man, like, you know, we're here for you, and the family's here for you. The family here to a lot of people is very important. The family vibe, and you're a big part of that, man. So, if anyone else here has something they'd like to say, just yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Well, as many of you know, I was married, and my marriage fell apart about 2 months ago now. And that was my immediate family. My wife was my immediate family. But my secondary family sort of dropped off at that decision. Do you know what I mean? She left me, and then her parents disappeared, her relatives disappeared from my life. It's sort of just a whole lot. So, in reality, is that really family or not? Or is that just by law are we classified as family? My in-laws. Um,
There's a guy. There's a YouTuber, sort of a public intellectual type. A lot of people have a problem with him, but he has some good qualities. Stefan Molyneux, and he's been accused of being a cult leader or something because he has an acronym he calls DFOOing, D family of origin, and his big thing is people are overly loyal to abusive family systems, and they can't find their way out, and what they really need to do is break the connection of that it's there merely by blood, and go find connections that are actually based on mutual respect. um, it wasn't necessarily a choice to me. My family sort of exited my life, but yeah, it's been valuable finding people who voluntarily want to continue interactions, and with whom, like, I can have mutual respect and mutual interests. It's no guarantee that that's going to happen just based on the accident of birth.
And that's what I love about the roundtable. Like you mentioned it before, Sal, that DM other members, see how they're going. And to me, a lot of members message from the roundtable and ask how I'm going for the current circumstances I'm going through. And I totally appreciate it. I don't get that from any other server, other than mutual friends of other servers. initially they're all originally on the round table or are on the round table. Yes, bizarre. And I said I really appreciate that. So I want to say thank you, and especially to Shogun for starting this server.
Yeah, yeah, and so I don't want to drag it on any more longer than it needs to, because I think we've summed up for the most part, well, what it means to be family, what it means to be loyal, and what where you can get that, where how do you find that, and a lot of people have, it's a very subjective term, but at the end, I don't think it is. It's when you have it, you know it, and sometimes you have family members that you just like. Ansop, I've had that same issue. I went from having the love of my life, having like a woman that I thought I would never love more. I remember February 2nd, 2016. That was the last time I made love to my wife, and I laid my head on her chest and thought to myself, "Wow, I never loved this woman more than I did right now." And then the next day,
Mm.
says that she hadn't loved me in 6 months, and you know, um, and she, and I just said I wanted a divorce, and it's sometimes things can go sour, but um, I had my real family, that took care of me afterwards. And it just so happened that it was my real family. It could have been friends. It could have been this Discord server, but at the time it was my family, and
Mm.
it was very important, like to have that, and if you don't have that, in real life, you have it here at the Roundtable Discord server. You can find us by Googling Roundtable Discord server, or check out our link on the YouTube channel. But anyways,
Using your radio voice.
but yeah. So, but yeah, family. It's about loyalty. It's about respect. Actually, I think the best way to close this out would be to quote Ronan: "Family is trust, love, and loyalty. To be family means to be there for each other, no matter the circumstances." So, with that, I would like to say thank you for joining us for our Roundtable podcast. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We have a debate with the Dex, um, and more to come this week. So, again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Everyone, please go ahead and join Roundtable 1 to continue the conversation.